the hip-hop world woke up to a headline that nobody saw coming. Drake, the superstar who has dominated charts for more than a decade. The artist whose voice has become the soundtrack of an entire generation suddenly finds himself on the outside looking in. One of the culture's biggest platforms, a stage that has built legends and crowned kings, has officially closed its doors on him. It wasn't a leak. It wasn't a rumor whispered in the corners of social media. It was real. A move so bold, so unexpected, that even Drake's critics were left speechless. Fans who are used to seeing him everywhere, from top playlists to major award shows, are now asking, how could this happen, and why now? For years, Drake has been more than just a rapper. He's been a brand, an empire, a force that shapes trends and pushes hip-hop into global territory. His success stories are countless record-breaking streams, sold-out tours, and back-to-back hits that live rent-free in people's heads. But the same influence that made him unstoppable might just be the reason doors are starting to close. Some insiders claim the platform wanted to make a statement that hip-hop isn't only about numbers, charts, or popularity. Others suggest deeper conflicts, quiet rivalries, and industry politics that fans rarely get to see. And the timing. That's what makes it even more explosive. At a moment when hip-hop is more competitive than ever, with rising stars, long-standing rivals, and an audience hungry for authenticity, Drake's absence from this stage feels less like a coincidence and more like a turning point. Is this the beginning of a new era where Drake's dominance finally faces real limits? Or is it just another challenge he'll overcome, proving once again why he's still sitting on top of the game? One thing is undeniable: hip-hop has been shaken. Fans are debating, critics are dissecting, and the industry is buzzing with theories. Whatever the real story is, this block isn't just about Drake. It's about the future of hip-hop itself. And we're about to uncover exactly what went down. Drake's name has always been synonymous with success. From the moment he stepped into the spotlight, the world knew he wasn't going to be just another rapper trying to make it out of his city. He was different. His rise from being a Canadian TV actor on Degrassi to becoming one of the most dominant forces in music is one of hip-hop's greatest success stories. Every chapter of his journey has been defined by ambition, precision, and an almost unmatched ability to stay relevant. But for the first time in years, that unstoppable momentum has hit a wall. The news of him being blocked from hip-hop's main platform didn't just drop quietly. It exploded. Social media lit up with reactions, memes, and endless threads as fans tried to make sense of it. Some were furious, calling it disrespectful to an artist of Drake's caliber. Others were quietly celebrating, arguing that maybe it was time the industry stopped revolving around one superstar. But regardless of which side people were on, the fact remained: this wasn't just about one man. It was about the power dynamics of an entire culture. To understand the weight of this move, you have to understand what this platform represents. For decades, it has been more than just a stage or a brand. It's been a gatekeeper of credibility. Getting that spotlight isn't easy, it has to be earned. Countless legends, from Jay-Z to Nas, Kendrick Lamar to J. Cole, have stood there and proven why they deserved their spots in hip-hop's history books. For fans, the platform has become a measuring stick of authenticity. If you made it there, you weren't just popular, you were respected. And that's what makes Drake's absence so loud. Here's an artist who has shattered every chart imaginable, who holds records that may never be broken. And yet, when it came time to share that space, the door was locked. Was this a statement about his artistry? Was it about control? Or was it about sending a message to the next generation of rappers that even the biggest names aren't untouchable? Behind the scenes, whispers have been swirling. Industry insiders suggest that Drake's dominance has started to make the platform uneasy. Think about it. When one artist becomes so big that they overshadow everyone else, Even institutions that thrive on diversity start to feel boxed in. Drake's presence is so massive that it can unintentionally shrink the spotlight for others. And in an era where new voices are constantly emerging, platforms are under pressure to show balance. To prove they aren't just serving one star, but that's only one theory. Others claim this has nothing to do with balance or fairness. It's politics. The music industry has always been fueled by alliances, rivalries, and power plays. Labels, managers, and executives all fight to position their artists. And sometimes decisions aren't about talent, but about leverage. If Drake found himself on the wrong side of those negotiations, that could easily explain why doors started closing. Still, it's hard to ignore the timing. Hip-hop right now is in one of its most competitive eras. You've got artists like Kendrick Lamar reigniting lyrical wars, J. Cole cementing his status as a veteran powerhouse, and a wave of younger rappers hungry to take the throne. Add in the rise of drill, trap, and regional movements across the globe, and suddenly the game feels more crowded than ever. Drake's absence from this key stage gives others a chance to shine, and maybe, just maybe, that was the plan all along. Fans, of course, are caught in the middle. To them, Drake isn't just another artist, he's the soundtrack of their lives. His music has been there through heartbreaks, parties, late-night drives, and celebrations. To see him blocked feels personal. It feels like an attack on someone who has delivered endless memories. That's why the reactions have been so intense, because when you touch Drake, you touch a generation. But here's the thing, Drake has faced doubt before. He's battled critics who called him soft, rivals who claimed he didn't write his own rhymes, and waves of hate every time he dropped a new sound. And every single time, he came back stronger. Which raises the ultimate question, is this block really the beginning of his downfall? Or is it just the setup for another legendary comeback? One thing's for sure, whatever happens next, the story isn't just about Drake. It's about hip-hop deciding what kind of future it wants. Will it continue to revolve around one superstar? Or will it spread the crown among many? And as we peel back the layers of this controversy, you'll see just how deep this moment really goes. Whenever a major controversy shakes hip-hop, the first place people run to for answers is social media. Within minutes of the announcement that Drake was blocked from the platform, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok were flooded with debates. Some fans jumped straight into conspiracy mode. This isn't about music. One tweet read, "This is about protecting certain artists from Drake's dominance." Others suggested that it was a calculated move to shift the spotlight toward Drake's rivals, names like Kendrick Lamar, J. Cole, or even newer talents who have been waiting for their shot at the crown. And let's not pretend rivalries don't matter here. Drake's career has been built on competition. From his feud with Meek Mill years ago to his ongoing lyrical tension with Kendrick Lamar, beef has always been part of the narrative. But unlike most rappers, Drake rarely loses in the public eye. He has the numbers, the popularity, and the mainstream backing to spin almost any situation in his favor. Which is exactly why this moment feels so different. Because for once, it's not about the music, it's about access. No matter how many records he sells, if he's denied the stage, he can't control the conversation. Industry insiders have hinted at a bigger story brewing behind the curtains. Some say that executives connected to the platform have grown tired of Drake's dominance. His presence, while always profitable, has also been overwhelming. Smaller artists often feel overshadowed, and platforms are accused of being biased if they don't balance the scales. Blocking Drake, in this sense, could be their way of resetting the stage, creating room for diversity, for new voices to be heard without being drowned out by Drake's massive influence. But others believe this isn't about diversity at all. It's about power. The hip-hop industry has always been political. Labels, streaming giants, and executives pull strings to shape the narrative. If Drake is seen as too independent, too powerful, or unwilling to play by certain rules, then closing doors on him becomes a strategy to remind everyone who really controls the culture. Remember, hip-hop isn't just about beats and rhymes, it's about money, influence, and who gets to dictate the future. And then, of course, there's the rivalry angle. Kendrick Lamar, for example, has never been shy about positioning himself as the antithesis of Drake. Where Drake is seen as commercial, Kendrick represents lyrical depth and artistry. Their fan bases often clash, arguing over who truly deserves the crown. With Drake sidelined, even temporarily, Kendrick's stock rises. The same can be said for other rappers who have long lived in Drake's shadow. Could it be that this block was influenced, directly or indirectly, by those rivalries? Fans certainly think so. What makes this story even more explosive is the timing. Hip-hop is at a crossroads. The genre is no longer confined to America. It's global. From UK drill to Afrobeat-infused rap, from Latin trap to underground movements in Asia, hip-hop has become a worldwide language. In this new landscape, the culture is demanding variety, authenticity, and risk-taking. Drake, for all his versatility, is still seen by some as the face of the old system, the mainstream superstar, who dominates the charts but doesn't always push the culture forward. Blocking him from the platform could be a symbolic way of saying, the game is bigger than one man. Still, the decision isn't without backlash. Drake's fans, some of the most loyal in the world, are furious. They see this as nothing more than disrespect. How do you shut out the biggest artist of our generation? One fan posted on TikTok a video that quickly went viral. Love him or hate him, you can't erase his impact. For them, Drake isn't just an artist, he's a cultural icon who has been part of their lives for over a decade. Denying him a spot feels like denying their memories, their experiences, and the very history of modern hip-hop. Meanwhile, critics argue the opposite. They claim Drake has had his time, and now it's time for others to shine. Drake doesn't need every stage, one commentator wrote. He's already proven himself. Let the new generation breathe. This divide between fans and critics is exactly what keeps the story alive. It's not just about whether Drake was blocked. It's about what that decision represents for the future of hip-hop. And let's not forget Drake himself. At the time of the block, he didn't immediately release a statement. No angry Instagram post. No cryptic tweet. Just silence. And for someone like Drake, who's known for turning even the smallest slights into chart-topping hits, that silence was deafening. Fans began to speculate. Was he plotting his next move? Was he quietly negotiating behind the scenes? Or was this the first time in his career where he truly didn't have control of the narrative? The irony of it all is that by blocking Drake, the platform may have made him even bigger. Controversy sells. Every headline, every social media thread, every heated debate only adds to his myth. Instead of fading, his name dominates the conversation, which, in the end, may play right into his hands. But make no mistake, the road ahead isn't smooth. This moment forces Drake to face questions he's avoided for years. Can his reign continue without the industry's full support? Can he reinvent himself in a way that keeps him untouchable? Or will this block be remembered as the first crack in the armor of a superstar who once seemed unstoppable? As the dust settles, one thing is clear. This isn't just about Drake versus a platform. It's about hip-hop deciding who holds the keys to the kingdom. When the story of Drake being blocked first broke, the biggest question wasn't what happened. It was how will Drake respond? After all, this is the same artist who has turned past conflicts into fuel for some of his most memorable moments. When Meek Mill accused him of not writing his own lyrics, Drake fired back with Back to Back, a diss track that not only silenced the criticism, but also became a Grammy-nominated hit. When Pusha T exposed private details of his life, Drake didn't crumble, he recalibrated, owning the narrative and pushing his career even further into mainstream dominance. But this situation feels different. For the first time, Drake doesn't have an opponent he can directly attack. There's no single rival, no diss track waiting to be dropped, no lyrical back and forth. Instead, his battle is with an entire system, a platform powerful enough to deny him access. And fighting an institution is very different from fighting an individual. That might explain his silence. While fans were waiting for a fiery response, Drake chose to step back, leaving everyone guessing about his next move. That silence, however, has only made the controversy grow louder. The media quickly filled the gap with endless speculation. Was Drake negotiating behind closed doors to reverse the decision? Was he planning a public comeback performance, somewhere even bigger? Or was he deliberately using the block to build anticipation for his next album? Reporters and critics scrambled for answers, but the lack of clarity only added to the drama. Meanwhile, rivals couldn't resist the opportunity to throw subtle jabs. Though no one named Drake directly, fans dissected lyrics, interviews, and even Instagram captions, searching for hidden messages. One rapper posted, "When the stage closes, the real kings still find a way to be heard." Another wrote, "Some platforms ain't for everybody, especially not for pop stars pretending to be rappers." Comments like these sent fan bases into overdrive, reigniting old debates about Drake's authenticity in hip-hop. And this, right here, is where the conversation deepens. Drake's career has always walked a fine line between hip-hop and pop. Its ability to blend rap with R&B, Afrobeat, dancehall, and even UK drill has made him one of the most versatile artists of all time. But it's also fueled criticism that he's more of an entertainer than a pure rapper. For some, this block feels like validation of that criticism, as if the platform is saying, "You may rule the charts, but you don't define the culture." For others, though, that's an unfair assessment. They argue that hip-hop has always evolved by breaking boundaries, and Drake's global influence is proof of that. From Toronto to London, Lagos to Tokyo, his sound has carried hip-hop into places no one thought possible. To exclude him from a stage that claims to represent the culture feels like rewriting history. What makes this even more fascinating is the generational divide. Older fans and critics often view Drake as a commercial artist whose dominance has overshadowed more authentic voices. Younger fans, however, grew up with Drake as their introduction to hip-hop. To them, he is the culture. This clash of perspectives has created a rift in the conversation, and the block has only widened it. But if history has shown us anything, it's that Drake thrives under pressure. Every time his back has been against the wall, he's found a way to turn the narrative in his favor. And right now, the stage is set for him to do it again. Imagine the impact if his next release directly addresses the block, flipping the controversy into art. Imagine if he uses the rejection as fuel for a new era. One that redefines his place in hip-hop while silencing the doubters once more. Of course, there's also the possibility that this time is different, that the block isn't just another obstacle, but a genuine shift in the industry. Hip-hop has always been about evolution, and maybe this is the culture's way of moving toward a more collective future rather than revolving around a single superstar. If that's the case, then Drake faces his greatest challenge yet, proving he can adapt to a world where he's no longer the center of attention. As the debates rage on, one thing is undeniable. This controversy has forced the hip-hop community to reflect on what truly matters. Is success defined by charts and sales, or by respect and credibility within the culture? Drake's block has become more than just a headline, it's a mirror, reflecting the tensions, rivalries, and politics that shape the music we love. And whether Drake breaks his silence tomorrow, next month, or with his next project, the impact of this moment will linger. Because when the biggest star in the game gets shut out, it's not just his story, it's hip-hop's story. Every superstar eventually faces a crossroads, and right now, Drake is standing at his. For over a decade, he's been at the top of hip-hop's food chain, navigating rivalries, criticism, and cultural shifts with the kind of grace only a seasoned veteran can pull off. But being blocked from one of the culture's biggest platforms has raised a question even Drake himself can't avoid. What does this mean for the future of his career? On the surface, the answer might seem simple. Drake is too big to fail. His streams break records every time he drops. His tours sell out arenas around the globe. And his brand power stretches far beyond music. To casual fans, being excluded from one stage doesn't erase the fact that he's still one of the most influential artists alive. But when you look closer, the cracks begin to show. In hip-hop, credibility matters as much as popularity. Numbers can tell you who's winning commercially, but credibility tells you who's winning culturally. And right now, Drake's credibility is being tested in a way it hasn't been before. Critics argue that if the main gatekeepers of the culture are willing to block him, maybe it's a sign that his grip on hip-hop's crown is loosening. Others believe this is simply politics, that the block doesn't diminish Drake's legacy. But it does signal that even giants can be challenged. For his fan base, though, none of that matters. Drake's supporters are some of the most loyal in music. They've been with him through every controversy, every diss track, every reinvention. And if history is any indication, they're not going anywhere. Social media is filled with fans defending him, calling the block unfair, and reminding the world that Drake has faced hate before and come out stronger. For them, this is just another battle in a long career of battles, and they fully expect him to turn it into another victory. But even within his fan base, there's a noticeable divide. Some fans want Drake to lean into the drama, to respond directly, to drop music that addresses the block head-on. Others want him to rise above it, to prove that he doesn't need validation from any stage to maintain his dominance. This split reflects the larger conversation happening across hip-hop. What's more important, approval from institutions or the power of the people? At the same time, the industry is moving quickly to capitalize on the situation. Rival artists see an opening, using the block as a way to frame themselves as the true voices of the culture. Media outlets are milking the controversy for clicks, framing it as a turning point not just for Drake, but for hip-hop as a whole. And executives, always thinking about the bottom line, are watching closely to see how fans respond. If Drake's star begins to dim, even slightly, it creates space for new names to rise. Yet there's also a risk here. By blocking someone as influential as Drake, the platform may have unintentionally strengthened him. Hip-hop has always been fueled by rebellion, by artists who fight against the system and come out on top. If Drake positions himself as the underdog, a role he hasn't played in years, fans might rally behind him even harder. In that sense, what was meant to weaken him could end up fueling his next big era. Another layer to this is Drake's adaptability. Few artists in history have been as versatile as him. Over the years, he's jumped from genre to genre, reinventing his sound while staying at the center of mainstream culture. That adaptability has been his secret weapon, and it could be the very thing that helps him navigate this storm. Instead of fighting the block directly, he could simply pivot, create his own platforms, control his narrative, and prove once again that he doesn't need anyone's permission to succeed. But even if Drake survives, and he likely will, the question remains, what does this moment mean for hip-hop's future? Because this isn't just about one artist being blocked. It's about the culture deciding how much power one superstar should have. For over a decade, Drake has been the default face of hip-hop to the mainstream world. Now, with his absence, From this stage, other artists are being given the chance to shine. That redistribution of attention could redefine the landscape in ways we can't fully see yet. One thing is clear: whether this block ends up hurting Drake or helping him, hip-hop will never look the same after it, as the dust begins to settle. One truth becomes clearer than ever: Drake's story is far from over. Being blocked from hip-hop's main platform may feel like a heavy blow. But if there's anything his career has proven, it's that he thrives in adversity. Every obstacle, every critic, every controversy, Drake has found a way to turn them into fuel. And this block might just become the spark for his next chapter. The real question isn't whether Drake will bounce back. It's how he chooses to do it. Will he drop an album filled with sharp lyrics aimed at the culture that tried to shut him out? Will he pivot into something completely unexpected, reinventing himself once again and leaving everyone scrambling to keep up? Or will he take a quieter, more strategic route, building his own platforms and reminding the world that no gatekeeper can stop someone who already sits at the top? No matter what, fans will be watching closely. Some are expecting him to unleash another era-defining anthem, the kind of track that instantly takes over the charts and forces everyone, including his rivals, to acknowledge his power. Others believe his best move is to simply keep winning, to show that he doesn't need approval from anyone to maintain his dominance. Whatever the path, one thing is certain: Drake has too much history, too much talent, and too much loyalty from fans to simply fade away. But beyond Drake, this moment will be remembered as a turning point for hip-hop itself. The industry is shifting. New stars are emerging, old rivalries are resurfacing, and the culture is wrestling with big questions about credibility, power, and authenticity. Drake being blocked is more than just a headline, it's a symbol of hip-hop's evolution. Whether people see it as fair or foul, it has forced everyone to confront what kind of future the genre wants. And that's where voices like ours come in. Platforms like Mighty X exist to break down these moments, to dig past the surface-level headlines and give fans the full story. Because this isn't just entertainment, it's culture, it's history, and it's the kind of drama that defines generations. At Mighty X, we don't just tell you what happened, we uncover why it happened, what it means, and how it will shape the game moving forward. So as the world debates whether Drake's block is a setback or a setup, remember this: hip-hop has always been about resilience. From the streets to the stage, from underground movements to global dominance, the genre has thrived on challenges. And if anyone knows how to survive a storm, it's Drake. Love him or hate him, you can't deny his impact. His next move, whatever it may be, will shake the culture all over again. For now, the story remains unfinished. Will the block stand as a mark against his legacy, or will it be remembered as the very thing that pushed him to redefine himself yet again? Only time will tell. But one thing is for sure: the conversation isn't ending anytime soon. And if you want to stay ahead of the drama, the rivalries, and the shocking twists that keep hip-hop alive, stick with us here at Mighty X, because the story of Drake, the story of hip-hop, the story of what comes next, it's only just beginning. Asterisk.